There are many games that are still in the process of being dropped or have dropped recently that a lot of people have mentioned as like potential D&D killers, right? Or something that may take up some of the same space within the D&D space. Of those games, one of the ones I probably slept on the most that I didn't expect to get pulled into is this one, Daggerheart. And we're going to talk about it today. Let's check it out. Welcome back to the channel. This is the Sacred Art of Gaming. I am Sacred. Thank you so much for exploring this hobby with me as we take a look at a game that I had no intention of being pulled into, but yet here we are. Why is that? We're going to talk about it. Let's hang out, explore together. So, Daggerheart. Of the games, you know, there was MCDM, Draw Steel, whatever it is now. Stormlight Archives, there's like the Dungeon Coach one, there's Nimble, which Nimble, I think, from what I can tell, is an amazing game. I just don't know if I need it, because it seems like the same thing that I've already played, but just more efficiently. But I digress. The other game that, in my eyes, has also kind of won this race has been Vagabond. But today we're going to talk about Daggerheart. Daggerheart I had the least interest in, probably from the jump of all of those games that were coming out at the same time. But it surprised me because there's a decent amount of solo potential here. Now, the book, as you would imagine, pretty good, pretty solid, lives within the vein of the standard D&D, Pathfinder, Shadow of the Demon Lord, I don't know, fantasy age, I suppose. But where it is slightly different from a lot of those books is it does have the book ribbon. I don't think Pathfinder has a book ribbon. Here's what we're going to talk about. The intro, what the hell is this game, preparing for an adventure, playing an adventure, running an adventure, which we're probably not going to go too deeply into that, adversaries and environments, campaign frames, and then the appendix. I'm mainly going to, dip, dive, and dodge between the things that excite me. It does have two ribbons though, and I love the theme of it. One yellow and one purple, one for fear, and one for hope. So here are the core realms. Sure, all these fantasy games have something like this. Now, something that did pull me in unexpectedly, not the reason I bought the book, but the classes. The classes and the build-up of it, the way they're built. I do like that a lot. I think some people don't like that, but I love it. So you have your class options of, like, let's say the Bard, the Druid, the Guardian. We'll take the Sorcerer, for example. You pick the Sorcerer, but then you also pick, do you want the Elemental or the Primal? You pick one of those two. In addition to that, each one of them have domains, and I'm going to be honest with you, that sparked a lot of creativity and curiosity on my part. So when you build your character, and there's going to be another section that dives into this further down the road, you're going to choose your ancestry, your community, and your class, and then here are your traits. So you've got agility, strength, finesse, instinct, presence, and knowledge. A lot of those probably seem very familiar. And then you have your trait modifiers, which aren't going to be too crazy. It's going to be +2, +1, +1, 0, 0, -1. So you have one really good, one dump stat, and the rest is kind of like vaguely in the middle. Decent amount of ancestries. And there's a lot of fun background information for your character, like your background. I believe there's experience. There's all these, like your hit points and your stress, your armor that we'll dive into a little bit later. And then your domain cards, your connections, your experiences, all fun things that are connected to your character that can give you like bonuses. Very cool. Here's an example of the character sheet. You can always learn a lot about a character sheet. Notice that evasion is going to be what you'd probably consider AC. Armor is kind of like what you think it is, sort of. In this case, there's a threshold. We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but you've got, like, let's say they hit the threshold. If they hit, you can take like a minor wound, a major wound. A minor wound, a major wound, and a severe wound. That being 1 HP, 2 HP, or 3 HP. Kind of feels like Scarlet Heroes in a way, where it kind of helps scale everything, where you're not dealing with these massive numbers, but I digress. And that's off of, here's your damage and health thresholds here. So notice that this is a level 1 character. Your base thresholds comes from your leather armor, 6 and 13. You add your level, which gives you the 7 and 14. If this was a level 2 character, it would be 8 and 15. There's also a base score of 3, so that means 3 times you can check one of these little shields, and let's say you take severe damage, you can knock that down a pip to major damage. And a lot of the stuff is on the character sheet, which is very handy. I always love that. Also, another thing to get ahead of myself here is you've got your proficiency for your active weapons. In this case, the dual staff. It runs off of the instinct trait with a distance of far, and it does 1d6 plus 3, and it's magic. If their proficiency was 2, it would be 2d6. If it was 3 proficiency, 3d6, etc. And then here's all your character guide stuff. All right, domains. I think some people hate domains. I love domains. I love this idea, and it inspired me in other ways from my own systems that I play around with, where every character is a mix of 2 different domains. So for example, the sorcerer is going to be a mix of midnight, which is interesting, but also the arcana, which is not so surprising. So you could be a sorcerer who dives more into midnight, and you become this shadow mage. Interesting, very interesting. There's all of these sections. Maybe we'll continue with sorcerer. Here we go, just to keep that going. This is pretty much my character that I have. I'm a ribbit sorcerer who is elemental, I think elemental. But yeah, this breaks down what your domains are, what your starting evasion is, starting hit points, class items, their hope feature, class features. Then you get your respective specializations and masteries and what their spellcast trait is going to be. Really cool stuff. All of this customization gets me excited in a similar way that I get excited in a group game. Here are our ancestries, which are also really solid. You've got some weird ones like the Clank. This is a very interesting Clank bard. We've got Dracona, Dwarf, Fungrel, Galapa, however you say that, Human, Halfling, Katari, and Furnace. Here's the Ribbit, and the art is pretty solid, Now we have Community, which has your Highborn, probably what you would expect, Loreborn, Orderborn, Seaborn, Ridgeborn, and Slyborn, Underborn, and Wildborn. You also get community features from this. So Wildborn, which is like my character, your movement is naturally silent. You have advantage on rolls to move without being heard. So it's really cool that all these things kind of build on each other. The Ribbit also, you can breathe and move naturally underwater, and you have a long tongue. So I love the layers of character customization. Now we get into our core mechanics, which we haven't really dove into too much. I know they said making moves. If there's moves like Powered by the Apocalypse, I have not seen those. I think it's a little bit more straightforward. We're gonna roll 2d12s, and you're going to roll them, add them together, and roll your modifier. I probably should have gotten out some d12s for an example. All right, here's our d12s. Maybe not the best for hope and fear, but we'll say the black one is fear. The spotlight is very flexible, which I think is helpful for solo play. And I think this is kind of standard. The GM narrates the details, the players and the GM ask questions, the players and GM answer the questions, and they resolve actions and repeat. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Now here's where things get a little spicy with the duality die. So let's say, for example, we roll, and let's say I have a +2 on this roll. So I'm gonna roll, let's say it's 15 that I need to get. I'm nowhere near close. So this is 7 + 2 is 9. I am under. But although we are under, this is our fear die, this is our hope die. So we have failed with hope. Failing with hope is kind of like a no but. If this was flipped, and let's say we failed with fear, that would be like a no and. Let's say we succeeded. Let's say we got something like this, which is an incredible roll. So we succeeded with hope. That's like a yes and. Let's say we succeeded with fear. That is a yes but, or like a weak hit, for example. Rolling doubles, this is a crit, as well as this is a crit. I'm pretty sure. Maybe we'll use this. Sometimes Snake Eyes is like a fumble. Double twos, that's a crit, even though that doesn't hit the target number. Matches are crits. Let's double check here on if the double ones are here. Yeah, I don't see anything about a fumble here being double ones. A lot of times you can use stress, similar to something like Blades in the Dark. You have like this as a resource that you can use to perform abilities. And you're more or less gonna pick your trait, add extra dice and modifiers as needed. If you have advantage or disadvantage, you will add additional d6 into that and then subtract or add that to your roll. Roll your dice and resolve the situation. Yeah, there's nothing said here about a crit fail, so double ones sounds like a crit to me. And we give the different examples of what the successes and crits and fails could look like. Something that's worth mentioning is that there is a resource where you're generating hope and fear, and you can use those respectively. You don't use the fear, but the GM can use fear, for example, to like take control, take the spotlight, perform abilities, etc. Conditions, not a ton of conditions. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised by that. The ranges and movement are going to be using like the distance and range bands, which I'm a fan of. Leveling up has the kind of D&D feel, although better in my opinion, where you just take a look at your character sheet and you make the modifications as needed. Here's an example of that where like tier 2 is going to be your levels 2 through 4, and you can choose 2 options from the list below and mark them. Very neat. Here's what the weapons look like. The weapons and armor, I enjoyed them a little more than I expected because you get to pick from tier 1, and we have physical weapons and magical weapons. And each class will tell you what you can choose from. A magical weapon, a physical weapon, I think it's a secondary weapon is another option. So everything you need is right here. I dig it. So let's say you have a battle axe, you're rolling strength, you gotta be in melee range, you're rolling a d10 plus 3 for physical damage. It's two-handed. Let's say we had a great sword instead, you'd have a -1 to evasion, but on a successful attack, roll an additional damage die and discard the lowest result. I dig it. And though these go up by tiers for different levels, and I think that can like generate loot, which there is solid loot at a later point here. There's light frame models for like wheelchairs that I guess are being used as mounts, sort of. Like it looks like they are jousting. Secondary weapon tables, this is the other one I was looking for. So this is gonna have things like your shields, but also small daggers, whips, grapplers, hand crossbows. I kinda like that it honed in on specific things that you can use. I don't know, I like it, I do. And then you've got your armor that has those thresholds, your base scores, and then they may have features like if it's heavy, -1 to evasion. Loot. I love this table. I think this will be fun for solo play because let's say common loot, you can roll 1d12 or 2d12. That of course limits you to the very bottom of the chart. I dig the efficiency a lot. As opposed to legendary, you can roll up to 5d12, which can give you stuff on the tail end, maybe, but not necessarily. And you know, you could get like an infinity bag. Same thing, but applied to consumables. Really cool. You have a full example of play. Great. I always love a good example. This game has solid GM advice, like many games. Not too much in here that I really need to hone in on, but there's some solid advice here. Begin and end with the fiction. Collaborate at all times. Fill the world with life, wonder, and danger. Ask questions. Make every roll important. Play to find out what happened. Hold on gently. Really cool. Some GM best practices. Don't hoard fear. Don't recommend it. Some like moves that you would use. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool that it gives you an idea as to like what you should be doing when you grab the spotlight, especially for like newer GMs for this system. And this is a quick reference chart that I like a lot. And this breaks down the success with hope is the yes and, success with fear is a yes but, failure with hope is a no but, failure with fear, no and. I dig that a lot. Regarding fear, especially with this being a separate resource, I do like how it gives you an idea as like the scene type and how much fear should be spent, just to give you some guidelines. And then the roll difficulty. I wish this was way earlier in the book, as well as like a lot of this stuff. But yeah, this lets you know that an average roll is 15. And we get a bunch of different examples for each, like agility, strength, finesse. I forget if they call them attributes, but they will always be attributes to me. Naturally, there are countdowns in this game. I feel like every game has countdowns, and they give you some examples as to how you would deal with that, whether you're using them for things like chases or you're using them for things like projects. I thought this was kind of neat. We've got some NPC features, and I like this where, let's say the mentor is present. When the battle begins, choose a protege PC. Your protege is within close range and fails an attack roll as the trigger, and then the effect would be that they would move into melee range with the PC and give them advice or guidance. The next attack roll they make has advantage. I dig that a lot. There's some decent advice in here for long form play and constructing arcs that I think are cool. And there's an example of long-term arcs that I think is neat, where you're kind of breaking everything up into threes and how you can kind of intertwine the different plots. I think that's really cool. Then we have our adversaries and our environments. It's a lot of cool stuff. We have all of our adversaries by tier. I love when they break this down, and I also love improvising adversaries, giving you ideas like the tiers. So this way you could do this on the fly. This is all in alphabetical order, and I looked at this for a long time, and I thought to myself, is this a stat block that I can handle like in a pinch? The acid burrower of these, I think, being something that is on the more difficult side. There's just more words, I guess, and I'm looking at it, and I think this is pretty solid. I like that Earth Eruption has mark of stress in bold, so we know, and they have 3 stress here. I think I can look at this very easily and get ideas to what the acid burrower does, what they look like, what kind of rolls and thresholds and damage they do, and what kind of things they could do. I like this a lot. I know this is a reaction, this is an action, this is an action, this is a passive. Yeah, at a glance, really good. And then if we fast forward to something a little bit more intense, let's say, so this is tier 4. This is a big boy, Volcanic Dragon, Molten Scourge. That is quite a bit more, almost double, right? But I think the same steps apply. I have a pretty good feel as to how to run this character without having to like look upon pages to run an enemy. I dig it. But what I think is really cool is that environment types also have a stat block. How very forward thinking of you. Like the Abandoned Grove. It has difficulty, potential adversaries, features. I'm not gonna lie to you, environments being stat blocks might be something that is going to stick with me that I try and put into every game that I play. And then of course we have environment statistics by tier, so this way we can do them on the fly. Okay, and then lastly, mostly lastly, something you've probably heard a lot about I always want to say Daggerfall, it's Daggerheart. For Daggerheart, these are the campaign frames. Isn't that crazy? I had to look. I love whenever I see other, like, what I would consider professional YouTubers when they mess things up, and I'm like, man, even the guy from Dungeons and Dyslexia messes this up, but it is Dungeons and Dyslexia, so maybe he can get away with it. Anyways, so there's all the different campaigns. You've got something like the Witherwild, you've got the pitch for it, the tone, the feel, the themes, the touchstones, and there's just a lot of cool background, and I love that if you want setting information for it, other than the stuff we did at the very beginning, you can kind of get it all right here. You've got characters, you've got like what the ancestries are going to be like, the communities, how they play into it, the classes, and it just makes things more specific for that campaign frame. But that is just one of them. There's also the 5 banners burning, and notice they give you like touchstones. So for example, Avatar, The Last Airbender, Dragon Age Inquisition, Eberron, and Weatherwild, you've got Princess Mononoke, Legend of Zelda, Dark Crystal. We go to the next one, which is Beast Feast, Monster Hunter World, One Piece, very cool. Age of Umbra, like Dark Souls, Kingdom Death Monster, Berserk. And then we've got Motherboard, which I think is the last one. Horizon Zero Dawn, oh my god. Mortal Engines, Mad Max, Final Fantasy, very cool. Some of them even have things like maps and subroutines within them. Oh, there's another one, Colossus of the Drylands, as you'd imagine. Shadow of the Colossus, Red Dead Redemption, but Deadlands? Interesting combo. That brings us to the appendix, which gives you a breakdown of all of the cards. You do get Druid Beast Form breakdowns, equipment, action rolls, character creation, all kinds of fun reference sheets here in the back. Some maps for some of the campaign frames, very cool. And then your index. Something I did not mention and maybe I should have, color-coded. Love this. I love when this happens. So maybe I will give this a little more. This is like maybe a step above the standard book within the vein of like D&D. But wait, there's more. And this actually all came together. This came in one slipcase. I hate the slipcase it comes with, so I didn't even entertain pulling it apart and putting it back together. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, these cards come with it, which in my opinion makes this a solid value. I'm gonna put the link down below. Hopefully it's on sale. I do see it on sale pretty regularly. But these are those domain cards, but not just the domain cards. You have like here's spells for like Arcana, for example. Abilities for like the warrior, what is that, bone, I think. Very cool cards. It's honestly kind of insane that it came with all these. But not just those, you also have like the different types of druid mastery abilities, guardian abilities, the foundation, specialization, ranger, seraph. But is it in here? It must be in a different pile. Ah, here we go. Yeah, so it also has your ancestries, like the clank, the dwarf, the fairy, the human. You have your community, like the loreborn, the orderborn, the seaborn. This is so dope. So you could basically, you're assuming they have, I guess they don't have to have different because there's multiples, but let's say you're a GM, you get this. What you could do, and I'll show you my character sheets wherever it is. My Daggerheart character sheets. So this is what is kind of like my supportive character. He's a Fungrel, an Orderborn Fungrel, and he's a Guardian with these two abilities, Whirlwind and Bare Bones. Very cool. So you kind of have like your character sheet somewhat, at least the abilities anyways, just in card form. So here is my character, Kip Bog Whisper, it's a Ribbit, a Wildborn Ribbit, that is a Sorcerer of Primal Origin. I said Elemental, I was wrong. It's been a while since I've looked at this. And I have Uncanny Disguise and Unleash Chaos. Notice I have Arcana and Midnight. Very cool. I look forward to getting back to these characters. I created this before I left, and I got distracted. I'm on like PBD, Powered by the Apocalypse experiment land right now. So that has been Daggerheart. What are your thoughts on Daggerheart? I think there's a lot of solo potential with the built-in yes and no but system that's there. And I also think that the fear system can maybe, hopefully, be less cumbersome and more helpful for a solo player. Have you soloed Daggerheart, not Daggerfall? Let me know in the comments down below and just your general thoughts on Daggerheart. What part gets you excited? Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed this content, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and feel free to use the links down below if you want to support the channel. I will see you in the next one as we continue to explore the sacred art of gaming